welcome to AMASV podcast episode 10 titled Word of Mouth Marketing. My name is Hanedi Karajeh and I'm the Vice President of Virtual Programming at AMASV. Today we will explore video game marketing with 4 prominent creators in the Nancy Drew PC game community: Hugh Miller of Nancy Drew Walkthroughs, Caitlin of WizardKitten, Kalina of StoryRetold, and Carter from the Nancy Drew Times. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone.
I'm so excited.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, brilliant to be here. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Yeah, so the PC game company Her Interactive is a PC gaming company that launched in 1995 with the goal of creating PC games for girls, known for their tagline, "For girls who aren't afraid of a mouse," referring to a computer mouse. Clearly, Her Interactive's games have a much wider audience to date, but we will talk about that more during our conversation. In 1998, Her Interactive launched their first Nancy Drew title, Secrets Can Kill, and has since released 32 more titles that have won the hearts of fans globally. In 2014, Her Interactive brought on a new CEO, leading to an interruption of the company's regular 2 games per year's release schedule. Fans wouldn't see another game until December of 2020, which was not favored by many. The gaming company became quiet again regarding the possibility of future games until April 1st, 2023. Conversation of speculation about what could be exploded amongst fans, leading to consistent attention to the details of the new game and a great deal of hype, essentially creating free advertising for Her Interactive's upcoming game as well as existing games. So I have my 4 creators with me. I have a variety of questions to ask them. So I'd like to start with, what was your first Nancy Drew game and how would you describe your affiliation with playing the games today?
The first Nancy Drew game I ever played was Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake, but I was a little too young and a little too afraid to actually finish it at the time. So I gave it a couple years, came back to the series with the final scene, and was absolutely hooked. Today, I would say that I kind of replay the games over and over and find new ways to reimagine them, whether that's through cross content with The Sims 4, diving deep into the meanings of the games. I just like finding new ways to enjoy them.
Yeah, my first game that I ever played was Stay Tuned for Danger way back in like 2005, I guess it was. And then the first game I ever beat was the final scene. But I've got very little memory of Stay Tuned for Danger when I first played it. It was the scene where you've got to lower the ladder on the worldwide broadcasting stage, and Nancy's like, it's stuck, and you got to like get oil and do that stuff. And that's the only memory I've got of that game when I first played it. But it was just enough that like, this is cool, and it's, the rest is history. But in today's world, a lot of my time with Nancy Drew is content creation, playing the games live every Thursday night, and just trying to dive into the like behind the scenes of things and really break the games down, see how they're made, how the files work, how the code works, all that stuff. It's very complex and it's taken a lot of time, but it's absolutely amazing to get to further explore how these games how they work.
My first game was actually Danger on Deception Island, and it was like the best first game, I feel like, because it had just enough like drama, great atmosphere, good easy enough puzzles because I was younger, and it was just such a good first game. I played it with my mom, so it was that was my introduction into the series, was solving a mystery with my mom. Which was really special. And yeah, I mean, I'm like everyone else. My affiliation with the games today is like going back and replaying them. They just have really high replay value. Great to just dive into the story again, and it just puts you back to when you first played the game. So, but yeah, that was my first game.
Kalina here. I was a Nancy Drew reader when I was a kid. My sisters and I discovered Message in a Haunted Mansion as our first game. We went back and played the other 2 and we're hooked ever since. I then proceeded to work for Her Interactive for 10 years, and now I am back to being a player and a fan. And I couldn't stop what I was doing when I did work at Her Interactive, and that is content creation, engaging with fans, engaging with the community. And that's what I continue to do now as a hobby. So I really enjoy just encouraging that and participating in that as well.
Yeah, wonderful affiliations with the games. And of course, I enjoy all of your content. And it's just great to see a community of people who have a similar interest. And Colleen, as a former Her Interactive employee, it's going to be great to get some perspective on the company and some marketing insights that you have too. So, how has Her Interactive been engaging with fans and creators who create promotional content of their own?
Well, I see one of the great tactics that Her Interactive is currently using, and I remember using this tactic myself when I worked at Her Interactive, is creating content that either teases something, alludes to something, doesn't give the full picture, or gives something in any sort of form like puzzles, to give the fans, give viewers something to think about, something to ponder, something to question, something to discuss. And with all of the different content that has been shared, it has created just that. All the fans have been eating it up. They've been like breaking it apart, trying to discern and what it means. What does this picture mean? What does this clue mean? Does this actually lead to something else? And it creates a great discussion. And also, because it's a community driven environment, people are like spinning off of each other, creating content themselves to help participate and add to the hype. And it's funny to see some of these engagements, like when Hugh is live streaming, working on puzzle solving together, and another community member hops in and does something totally left field and is just really fun. That also spins off more memes and just a continuous story that this community is going through live. And it's just amazing to see that process. Every little bit just leads to one more thing.
Yeah, and I was talking to Hugh recently about that Hugh and Kalina meme that referenced the two of you working together on streams when your voice is in his stream or you have a little video on his stream. You're like, I don't know what it could be. What do you think? Well, from previous insight I have working there, this is what I think it could be, and this is definitely confirmed. So it's like you guys are sort of like influencers in the community, and everyone kind of goes to you for the latest, you know, news and releases. But we have the discussion boards, and so everyone puts their little input here and there, which is really exciting.
It's been really interesting to watch too, just to see what Her Interactive decides to come up with. And I still think one of the coolest things was the kind of pull they I would almost say a reverse Shadow at the Water's Edge on us, where they set up these really grand puzzles, along the way for the marketing, and then on the day, or I guess the time leading up to the big title reveal on the 26th, they brought a few of those puzzles back, but in a smaller form. And in Shadow at the Water's Edge, you started by doing these smaller puzzles. You use like one Sudoku, and then you do one nonogram, and then spoilers, in the very end, those come back and in a massive form. And I just thought it was really cool that they were kind of training us to solve these puzzles. And it's really interesting because they've got so much stuff that they can share or that they can't share. And I think part of what they were doing was releasing stuff as they were able to share it. They obviously had a marketing plan in place, but sometimes fans got a little ahead of them. And I'm really curious. I'd love to talk to them just to see how much we screwed up their plans along the way, because I think that would be a really fascinating topic of discussion. But seeing them engage, and not just from a company sense, like here's a puzzle for you to do, and then you'll find the solution, but even engaging with us while we're doing it, and they'll show up in live stream chats or Instagram chats, and they'll just put the little like eyes emoji, or just join along for the fun. I think it's brilliant that they're able to be a fan themselves and kind of, or try and be a fan and engage in that sense too.
I think it's nice too, because it feels like they've gone back to really honoring and understanding the fan base. They used to do these kinds of puzzle things all the time, and then it kind of fell off the wayside for a long time, for many years. And now they've come back to it, and they're honoring all of the old games and including them in puzzles, and understanding we're detectives who enjoy solving puzzles and mysteries and really using that to their advantage.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, actually, so in preparation for today's like podcast, I was going back and rereading a little bit of kind of the very beginnings of Her Interactive. And I was going back and reading the interview that they did in 1999 when Megan Geyser was the president over the company. And their huge thing that they wanted to do was they wanted to bring a community together. And they wanted to do that because they knew that there was a market for it. And, reiterating what has been said, I really feel like they've done that again through this. No one could have guessed that we would have had to have made a Discord with nearly 1,000 people in it, or Instagram chats, and they're at max capacity, but that's where we're at again. And it's awesome. And it's awesome that the marketing team is a part of these chats and Discords. It's showing that community between the company and fans. And I think that's such a huge deal.
I think it's really cool you mentioned that too, because and I've seen this, especially over the years that we were waiting for Midnight in Salem, and then from then leading up until now, I've seen so many people say, I've lost faith in Her Interactive and all this stuff, but they've never really lost faith in the games themselves or in the community that has been built up from it, which is really interesting. And I think that really came true in April when I don't want to say, I don't want to use the word hypocrite, but I've seen a lot of people just like instantly like, oh, this is great, I love seeing this from Her Interactive again. Like, and I've seen a lot of stuff, and I'm not gonna name names because I don't actually know names, but it's like I saw all this like demise for the company, and then all of a sudden they come back to life, and everyone's like, oh great, this, it's like nothing ever happened all of a sudden. Not to say that, anyways, that's
Yeah, and how it used to be with gaming back in the early 2000s, it was like you played the game and you're pretty much on your own. Her Interactive cultivated the community forums for people to go online and get help and work together. And otherwise, there wasn't other ways to be in community unless you actually had real life friends who would come over to your house and you'd share with. But nowadays, with social media and online presence, everyone is able to come together in new ways. And kind of out of a tangent, it's interesting to see how that community transition has been over the course of so many years, because I was also researching this off to the side. Young people today are looking for a relational connection to brands. They don't want to be sold to. They don't want to be, you listen to a sales pitch like the strategy used to be way back in the day. And that's when you bought the game and then you just played it yourself. But nowadays they want to have a relationship with the brand. They want to have that connection at a deeper level. They want to have meaning to why they go back. And when the company went silent for a time and didn't have that relationship strengthened, it was actually weekends during that time. A lot of people had some distrust, and that's where people felt a little brokenhearted. And that's when April 1st, April Fool's Days, big stuff drops, people were hesitant, and I don't blame them one bit because of that broken trust. If they had put so much of their hearts into a company, and now things are coming back, and I think people are like the hypocrites, like you said. Some people are finally feeling like they can start trusting again and start believing what marketing is putting out there. Like there is new hope for a new game and new engagement, and that really cheers me, and I'm sure it cheers a whole bunch of other people too.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And, I think that some of the points that were brought up were very good. For example, when Carter mentioned that Her Interactive originally wanted to create a community, I feel like there's holding on to those company values at this point and bringing them back up for fans to notice. And I think that going back into the previous games to pull out little puzzles here and there that fans recognize, that was one way of showing that they cared. And as Polina mentioned, how brands want to be, more close to the consumer these days. I think it really maybe started during the pandemic. I've seen a few commercials that wanted consumers to know that like brands are people just like them. Like for example, the State Farm representative who's in every commercial, Jake. No, he's just another person. He walks down the street. He lives in a house. Like he goes and gets a pizza. It's not the same thing as you mentioned before, and it's really cool. It's you know it gives people a reason like to buy the product or to trust the company like all around, throughout the industry. So that's pretty interesting. Okay, so how have fans of the Nancy Drew PC Game series come to your channels for the latest Nancy Drew news and opinions on the latest game releases and other news?
I'll leave that to Carter first. He really
Yeah.
hops onto the Instagram super fast when he can. And people, it's like the quickest way to hop on and see what's going on, where are we at in our thought process. And he posts like every thought in a new post, so we can see that transition and see how he progresses through new clues and stuff, and how he's engaging with fans, and he's watching other fans in the community too, and feeding off of them. And then we've got Hugh here, who is able to hop onto live streams and bring the community all together in one place, also piggybacking off of Carter's thought processes too. So they can have that dependency to for them to report on the news, but also having continuous engagement with the games. We've got Caitlin who really looks at the games, and her streamathons, which are also pretty amazing. You get to look forward to that, and when fans get to set their dependency on these updates, these engagement moments, then that just enriches the community even more.
Yeah, no, totally. I think it's really interesting. And I know for the first little while there, when all these big puzzles were coming out, I had a lot more free time with work, and I was able to to live stream as soon as I could, or as soon as stuff dropped. And then all of a sudden I got more shifts, and a coworker went away, so I had to go and cover her shifts as well. And then I started getting messages like, I showed up to your channel, but nothing's happening. I'm like, I'm at work. I've got a real life. I'm really sorry. And it kills me that I can't do anything. But yeah, no, it's been really, 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 really great to have that that communication with fans, or fans of the games, I should say, because ultimately we're all just fans of the games. We all want to be together, and I think for a lot of people, myself especially, sometimes I am so clueless with these puzzles, I let other people solve them just so I get the chance to hang out with the community, because I'm like, this is just too brilliant to, like, I don't want to spend so much time looking at the screen where I could be chatting with everyone else here. And so for me, it's kind of a two-way thing, where I love solving the puzzle, but I love being able to chat with everyone else at the same time.
And it's also a little interesting because what I am still waiting to see, and it hasn't happened yet, when that's what makes this community amazing, is that we're not competing against each other to solve these puzzles.
That
We
is
are
amazing, yeah.
working together, and feeding off of each other's ideas and thought processes, and yes, even answers, because we also want to know what the answer is. We're so intrigued by it. And so I love seeing that people are working together and sharing this together. And I try to be as good about this as I can, but giving credit where credit is due. And when we can find that credit, then yeah, listing it as well.
I fully agree. And I think it's amazing that there's no competition. And I don't think there should be a competition, because ultimately we're all going to get to the same endpoint regardless of how fast we do it. And there's no rush to play the game right now because the game's not out. We're all trying to work hard to solve these puzzles, but there's no rush, I think, from any of us, especially the content creators, to try and be the best creator and make the best video. I think I just want to get a video out. I want to talk about it and share my thoughts, and then hear what everyone else has to say after that. And sometimes I'll wait a little bit to see if anyone else has other thoughts that I can piggyback off of. But yeah, I think that's a great point, for sure, especially the credit where credit's due.
I will say the Instagram is wild out there. I mean, it's been so fun. It's been so fun sharing everyone's ideas and theories and thoughts. And like you said, Kalina, like going through the just the thoughts, watching them unfold. If I go back and visit my archive of stories, it is so fun where we were at different points. But yeah, no, like to this day, I still haven't answered everyone yet back on what, clues and stuff, because it was a huge influx of people all at one time. Um, Even Her Interactive, they just so many new people were hopping on Her Interactive social media, and they were just kind of at different points too in time. Like some people may have joined in like 2 weeks after they had started posting clues, or 3 weeks after, and so it'd be like trying to update everyone. I was like, I'm just going to post it on my story. I'm just going to like just post on my story and see if that will help update everyone, as it unfolds. But that has been such a fun thing and super engaging, I think, for the community, because it's just vague enough that there's not enough information. Like, you have to put your brains together, and it gets you talking. So it's been really fun, I think, to join in these discords and chats with so many other people. I mean, they can, like, seriously, these people can solve things in like 20 minutes. I'm like, how do y'all do that? How did y'all solve that so fast?
And adding on to that too, I love that there is so much like respect for like where on the timeline you entered this puzzle solving process. There isn't any competition. Just adding on to what everyone has said before, like my fellow 3 content creators here, Carter, Hugh, and Cleaner, are all so much faster at getting to this news than I am. I will do a video a week, 2 weeks later, just kind of summarizing things and crediting all of them for all of the amazing updates that they found in the insights that they found into some of these reveals, and then kind of sharing some of the opinions I have as well. But it is just all building on one another, and it's just going back to the awesome community that the Nancy Drew space has.
But for you to be able to come in, like a week or 2 weeks later, that's actually really great, because then that gives all the news a time to, settle, and people will have had a lot more time to look at it. And then as new things may crop up, as some puzzles, do take longer. That gives you the opportunity to kind of like put everything into one space and really wrap your head around the whole puzzle. Because I know, like for me, I like to try and get things done right away, but oftentimes I miss 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. I'm just like, shoot, I should have, waited a little bit, but I just get so excited. But no, I think waiting a little bit too is a super useful thing for sure.
Yeah, and as we were discussing before we started recording, I was telling you guys that there's so much going on, and I can't keep up with everything. There's just so many great news. So when I have some free time, that's when I get all the updates, and it's like, okay, well, we've progressed this far. So it is very active and exciting, which leads me into my next question. Where you all see on your content, you're very present, and your audiences can count on you to continue creating the content they enjoy. So have you created somewhat of a marketing plan of your own? And if so, how do you execute it?
Yes. So I do summer streamathons, which is basically replaying all of the Nancy Drew games in the summer. I'm an educator, so during the school year, I don't have as much time to fully engage and live streams with the community. So the summer streamathon has kind of been like this really big community building event. And to really honor that, I, especially this year, as I've grown as a content creator, have put together a really consistent plan of how am I going to inform my audience about this stream? What am I going to do to make this year's streamathon different? How is the merch going to align to this year's streamathon? So this year, more than ever, I did really focus on how I could connect everything and make everything really cohesive to build that idea of like, this is a consistent Nancy Drew community. We can all come here and be fellow detectives together and hang out and really enjoy ourselves. So it's been a lot more purposeful this year.
Yeah, and this time around, you've created some sort of like theme when you play each game, and you tell your audience to go out and buy food that is similar to the games, or make a new recipe, or like wear a certain color to enjoy the game and like be somewhat immersed while you're playing and they're watching.
Yeah, because this year's theme is to join the adventure, because each Nancy Drew game is its own adventure. And so just the idea that we're all eating pizza together while we play Stay Tuned for Danger around the world is just really fun. Or people are sharing pictures of like, we're wearing plaid for Warnings at Waverly Academy today. It just really warms my heart, and it makes it a lot more fun, because it's bringing back that feeling of, yeah, I'm playing these games with my friends and we're just all having a great time.
So marketing strategies. I've got a little bit, but it's like when I can get to it is when I can get to it, just because I have a busy schedule myself. Monday nights are my play Nancy Drew games hour, and so that may involve any discussion that might have come up about the latest content. But I just go through the games and play them in series. I also try to sell Nancy Drew inspired merch too, so that's my chance to plug it, and people have the chance to buy more stuff. But I make sure to always post about the content on social media. Otherwise, that's about my marketing strategy.
Yeah, like I guess that's pretty similar to mine. I never really think that I have a marketing strategy. I just kind of have a bunch of, pre-made assets that I kind of get ready. So if I'm gonna like live stream on a Thursday night, then I'll have the thumbnail all ready, and then everything for the for when I'm actually using OBS, all my slideshow stuff and whatnot, that's all ready. But otherwise, I'll share that on Instagram, or I'll share the thumbnail of the YouTube video if I've just uploaded one. And then merchandise too. I don't really plug that too often, but it's always kind of there. But it's not something that I ever really think about unless I've really got something I'm planning. But otherwise, it's just like, I don't know. I just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah, I love when you post your stories, your little Adobe Premiere, with the title like going live in a few minutes. I'm like, okay, it's go time. Like they just released a new clue or puzzle. We're gonna talk about it. And that's like the time to do it. So yeah, I
Totally.
think that it's a really good time for people to just stop what they're doing and like hear all the latest news right there and then live.
Yeah, no, it's really, and like that's definitely a useful thing. But sometimes for me, it's just like I never really think of it as marketing. It's more, but I guess it is because I'm saying, this is what is going on right now. Come hang out. But I never think of it as marketing. Part of it's because I don't really like the word marketing. I like the word or the phrase "come hang out." I much prefer that. But yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm the same way too. Like I guess I don't necessarily think about my marketing strategy, but I try and keep consistent posts on my Nancy Drew account, and I feel like there are times where like I'll post something that's very like nostalgic or generic. I want to get something out, whether it be like an old forum post or just old advertisement for Her Interactive, because I know those things do really well. That's what a lot of fans they relate to. So I guess that maybe that's my marketing strategy. I'll do that like once a month. I like to like vary my posts up too. So like I have like series that I do, but I post them kind of monthly. But yeah.
You're definitely present. So yeah, you're totally on top of it, and you share what your audience wants to see, as we previously discussed one-on-one. So I'd say that you're doing well. So you all are very active on your platforms and creating content. What % of your audience buys channel memberships or fan-made merchandise?
I always tell people when they ask about me doing YouTube, I say it's a small community base, but it's a very dedicated community base. But I would still say like of that dedicated community base, there's an even like more dedicated section. And that's the section that buys the merch, buys the channel memberships, and does that sort of stuff. So it kind of scales down. I wouldn't say it's a large portion of my audience, but it's a portion.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. And I would say in a way, as of recent, mine is even smaller because I've had a lot of people very kindly gift memberships to other people. So the actual number of members is pretty high, but the number of membership purchasers is very small because of that. And I'm very appreciative of it. But it's so I think for me it's a very small number. And the merch, yeah, it's always there, right? So, and I never push for people to pay me. If they want to, great, but I would never say, you guys should. It's really up to them. So that, yeah, it's a very small number for me.
For my YouTube channel, I think it's about like maybe 1% of my subscribers actually have paid memberships. The majority of people actually purchase my merch, and that is a larger audience because they get something really cool out of it. They get Nancy Drew souvenirs or inspired souvenirs. I do want to point out that because the community is so strong, there are other people who are creating amazing merch. I'm wearing the Clue Crew sweatshirt, which became very popular by Susanna Moore of Lemon Pepper Creations on Bonfire. When everyone was just really rallying together, she made this, and we wanted to honor, call ourselves the Clue Crew. Oh yeah, Hugh's good. So Hugh has some of my merch right there.
That's awesome. I know, I see them on Instagram. They're so cute.
Thank you.
And so unique too. Like, how do you get the idea to create them, and do you use a vendor to create them as well as to get your merch?
Half of my merch I make by my own hand.
Okay.
The other half I do have a vendor that I work with because I'm not a metalsmith and I don't have molds or any fancy equipment to make them. But when it comes to the ideas, it really comes when playing through the games. Like, this is a really cool token. Too bad we couldn't have it in real life. Oh, wait, I have a way of making that happen. And I do have to order like a whole bunch because you have to like batch order for these unique products to be made. I make them, I tinker around with them myself when they arrive at my house and put them together and sell them. For a limited time, there is much more marketing strategy behind my merch than my actual YouTube content.
And what is that?
I do 1 month limited runs on the limited edition pricier items, such as a key or a coin or a phone charm or a token of some sort. Those I only have about 100 made. I first start by wrapping them, packaging them up, figuring out how much they are worth and the cost with shipping and all of that. Put it up and take pictures for my Etsy shop. And then I put together a graphics in time for that launch all of it online at once and with a big, hurrah. Sometimes I make videos showcasing it because on Instagram and YouTube, the shorts or the reels, they do get a lot more traction. So if I put effort and time into making videos promoting the content, then I do that. And then I make sure that every other week, every 2 weeks or so, I put an alert out there. Hey, they're still here. While supplies last, we got 2 weeks to order. And a month is a good amount of time for people to, wait for the next paycheck or whatever, and they can actually get their item before it goes away. And that does create FOMO, and it works for these pricier items.
Got to push it. Yeah. And I think it does help to show people what they actually look like, because it is different when they see it on screen versus in person. And many times if I see something in person, I'm like, okay, yeah, I want that.
Yeah, and the members who do buy it, they get them within 2 weeks, and there's still time to like share pictures of their purchases. So I get to reshare that across and show, hey, people are getting them. This is what they look like in the hands of other people.
Yeah, and it is important to do what works best for promo. For example, Reels are probably the most effective way to post to Instagram now. Instagram favors Reels over posts, is what I've heard. So, I'm not sure why, but video is the thing lately.
Yep. Carter, you're wearing some Nancy Drew merch. Is that from Her Interactive or someone else?
Yes, actually, this is my Shadowrun shirt.
Oh,
It's from
nice.
Her Interactive. Yes, but I try actually like to purchase a little bit from everyone. I think I have almost have bought from everyone. I think I try to, at least. I enjoy all the stuff that everyone makes. It's like so good, and it's a cool keepsake, to have. So
recently, Her Interactive updated their terms and conditions about utilizing the logo and other content from the games. Do you think fan-driven promotion for new and existing games ends here?
I don't think so. I think it's really interesting because that page actually was put up and taken down in the same day. Now, I'm not sure if it was taken down to avoid confusion or if they were trying to, I don't know what I don't know any of the behind the scenes for that, but it was a really interesting situation. I felt bad because when I covered it, I was like, oh God, there's a lot of people freaking out about this. And I was a little bit stressed out myself. I was taking some of my merch down just to be safe, but because I didn't know if it was like them saying, all right, just so you guys know, we're watching and all this stuff. But as the day went on, it was just like, no, we were just putting this in place for, it was legal reasons, or it was because fans requested it and they wanted to know where content would sit, whether they're doing a YouTube channel or making merch or whatever it is. And so I think having those rules is very important, and I think they probably should keep them on their page, despite the fact that they're now taken down. I don't think it's the end. And there's a lot of great content creators that I felt were not, and still aren't, breaking the rules at all. And I don't see any reason why it should stop. Because again, for Her Interactive, it's even better marketing, because then it's people that play the games, they can find all this fan merch for these games they've just discovered, and then they're like, oh, this is cool, I'll get that. It's like a sticker sheet, there's a physical token from the games or whatever. I don't think it's the end. I don't think it's the end by far. I think once Her Interactive goes under, it's going to get even crazier in my eyes. If Her Interactive goes under, I will say if Her Interactive, not when, not once, if.
Just to echo what Hugh said, I was really grateful when you posted your video, Hugh. I watched it immediately, and I was one of those anxious people that was thinking, oh no, does my merch break the rules? Is it allowed? Because one of the ones I'm wearing right now says it's locked on it and it has a key. And then I started thinking about all these things like, is this phrase trademark if I pay an artist to have her own design of a key? And it was really stressful, and it did make me a little bit upset almost, because the point you made of like, there are all of these really creative people kind of keeping the spirit of these games alive. And that is, in a sense, kind of like free marketing for Interactive, because there's all these cool products that you can buy that remind you of the love that you have for the games. So yeah, it was a little bit like, it made me nervous. It made me nervous.
Well, that was the other thing. I had like a bunch of people asking questions, and like I literally don't know how to respond to most of these, because I didn't make these rules. I'm just kind of going off of the little information we have, right? But and I had one person. This was a great one. They said their channel is not monetized, but they still do Nancy Drew content, and they were worried about getting taken down. And I was like, no, because you're not even monetized, I think you are completely in the clear just by default.
Yeah, and when I worked at Her Interactive, I actually went after people who did flagrantly copy the exact art that Her Interactive made on their merch. And because I always put the Her Interactive logo on Her Interactive merch, and people just literally just copied and pasted onto other sites like Redbubble. And it's those instances that were big no-nos. And so when people do ask me about this copyright, this trademark content, and them creating merch, I'm not an official authority on the matter anymore, but I can encourage them that if you are illustrating things yourself, if you're making things yourself, I think you're in the clear. Just make sure that you're not using the Nancy Drew name. Try not to copy exact wordings or exact titles for things. And if you're making these things yourself, you should be just fine. And like a little bit of an encouragement from one of the employees under their pseudonym, they responded to someone's comment saying that if Her Interactive hasn't gone after you for these things already, because they're watching the community, if they haven't gone after you yet, then you're probably fine. I mean, I think Her Interactive is way more concerned about their brand, their logos, their trademarks, the content that they make explicitly. So it's really, and I did reach out to them just to provide further clearance on what the gray area is and how far is too far to make of making something look like their content, just so we have a gauge for people to create stuff, making it look as authentic as possible, but not copying it. So it's a really hard thing to balance. I think a lot of people are actually fine.
That's encouraging.
Fan-made merchandise is more so of an homage to the company in the series. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And like people are super creative. They're super artsy. They are very they're very creative with their interpretation of some of the illustrations or some of the fan art. And we've got people who are working on projects now that I would never imagine Her Interactive trying to sell in their shop because it's just so different. Like crochet dolls by Indie Crafts, brilliant. Or making an actual medallion from a game come to real life. Like those are hard things to make. And so having the fans create extra content that just helps affirm and really showcase Her Interactive, it adds to the marketing, it adds to the focus on Her Interactive in their games, it draws the attention back to the games, and I'm hoping that Her Interactive finds that encouraging when they see so many fans contributing to all this wonderful stuff that they make.
I have an additional question that I didn't ask, but I'll ask it now. Do you think that the promotion would be the same without the fans and the creators? Because could you imagine them posting a word swap puzzle and no one solving it? Wouldn't be the same.
It
That'd
would
be embarrassing.
It'd be very different. I know with their most recent one where they posted about the blog post, I think within the first few days, that post only got, a few comments compared to all the other posts. And I don't know if it was because there wasn't explicitly a puzzle like right there for them for the fans to solve. And this is something I've realized too about this community and just about the internet, really doing YouTube for so long. If you don't hand something to somebody right away within the first 15 seconds of a video or in a post, if they don't see what you want them to see right away, about 99% of the time they're going to either scroll past or just turn off. It's a really difficult, exactly, it goes right over their head, and it's a really difficult thing to gauge. So for this, if you say, all right, we're Her Interactive, we've got a new puzzle, but you have to go to another source that's not on Instagram, most people won't do that, because what's the point? Because now they've got to go out of their way. This is how great humans are. We got to go out of our way to take another 15 seconds to go to another website. And most people just won't do that. And yeah, it's fascinating. And without the fans, like, without people, because I know people in the Discord were on it right away. Did you post about it, Carter? I don't know if you did or not.
No, I don't think I did post about it.
No, you didn't. Okay. I know that, without content creators sometimes giving fans a little extra step to, or get rid of that step to get to the post, it probably would have been unsolved by a lot of people. And there wasn't a whole lot in the most recent post, but it was still checking off another box in the 3-step checklist they got going on.
For context, we're talking about the weekend puzzle number 378.
That is it.
I think some of us have the special web page bookmarked, the new Nancy Drew mystery page, because that's where we go to check for updates. That's what we've been conditioned to go to check for updates, because there's also the Instagram feed feeding into it. So on that page is the Instagram feed, and it's got the picture of the weekend puzzle 378. Clicking on it goes to Instagram. Instagram says, click on the link in the bio. Link in the bio goes back to the Her Interactive website, which is the weekend puzzle is hosted on the Amateur Sleuth blog, which is in a different location. So there was a little bit of hop, skip, and a jump around to get there. So that one looks like there've only been 107 likes on that Instagram post. So
really,
things like, yeah.
Wow.
It hasn't been as engaging as some of their other content, like the video that was posted just before it with the learn check words. There's 2,959 likes on it right now because they can interact with it right there. I think that's a key learning point. Now, if you want to engage your fans, you need to have it right there in front of them, handed to you on the plate. I mean, yeah, it could be coded and hidden within the text, but it's right there.
Yeah, which is also in a way too bad, because I've always been a fan of the Amateur Sleuth blog, and I always like reading a new post, no matter what it's on. At least they're posting, and it's something. But this could almost point in the direction of the Amateur Sleuth blog is kind of becoming a bit more obsolete, because it's a little bit too hidden away, because you have to go to the website, you have to navigate to the blog, and then you have to click on the blog post. That's 3 things that most people won't want to do, because they will just want to have it right there and hit them in the face, right? It's really too bad. But
it's just so saturated, like everywhere on socials, and if they had their own app, it may be different. People might download the app and be able to scroll through it, But if they have to visit certain links, then Instagram says, you're leaving Instagram. Are you sure you want to do that? And so people might not have the patience to, like you mentioned. But I really feel like this marketing plan that they have going on took a long time. They probably had to study the community like really closely, like watch creator content and then like make out the marketing plan. And then they had to take a risk and see if it worked. So that was probably the very first word swap puzzle when they saw that fans were engaging, that it had worked and they could go forward.
Yeah, no, you're very right. But also keep in mind, and I know this myself because I know who the team is. At least 3 of the marketing members were Nancy Drew fans before they became employees. So they know the games, they know the puzzles, and they are following the fans like crazy. And that's probably what helped contribute to their marketing plan. But you're right. Knowing these existing puzzles and implementing them into this marketing strategy, knowing that the fans are familiar with those, they don't need an extra guide. They don't need to go out and learn how to do this type of puzzle because they've done it before. So they get to do this and solve it all over again. But yeah, the Hern Active team members, they know the games. They know the fans.
I'm super curious to see what they do for game 35. I want to know how they're going to learn from this marketing plan for game 34 and see. I really wish I could be there for the meeting where they do a full retrospective on the marketing plan for this game, because I think that would be such an amazing thing to look back at everything, just step back for the last several months, because technically they've been teasing this game since 2021. So I want to see everything that they've done from here up until the game's release and just see. I think it'd be such a fascinating meeting, and I am curious to see what they do for the next game.
Yeah, absolutely. So now I have a few questions for each individual creator. So I'll start with Hugh. So Hugh of Nancy Drew Walkthroughs, do you think that your ability to dive into the back end of Her's website and recognizing specific things about URLs or any subliminal messages, as you previously mentioned that you did before, or also changing website icons is a challenge to Her Interactive to up their marketing game? And how do you think by sharing this information, you help fans discover these hidden details or learn more about the new game as well?
Yeah, for the first part of the question, I wouldn't say it's a challenge for them, because for the most part it would be, yeah, like just changing an icon. I think for them, assuming these are pre-made icons, it would just be choosing the right icon, slipping that in, and then waiting for fans to notice, which is very quickly. But then if you're gonna alter like a URL or something, like for me, that's the stuff that I would do. I love doing little hidden things like that. And so I think for them, it's more just like, what can we, it's more of a challenge of what are we going to call it rather than how are we going to, go about doing this. I think it's a super fun activity for them from what I've understood. And just, from my own perspective, it would totally be something that I would do if I were working for them. I'd be like, all right, we got to plant as many little hidden things here as possible. I think by being able to share it with fans, I think it can help other people either get that information faster or give them another avenue for them to do more snooping, which also puts more pressure on Her Interactive. And I've noticed this, and Kalina, you pointed this out pretty early on, is that they've had to update their website security now, because in the past, if you went to a certain part of the sitemap, you could actually view the names of every single author that posted a blog post or a web page, and that's been taken down. You can no longer view the names of the employees that do that. And because this new game, game 34, is a landing page, from my understanding on the back end, that means that it won't, or you can alter it to view in the sitemap or not. And the sitemap will tell you when the last page was updated. And in some cases, it won't tell you which page, especially with game 34. Or the game 34 landing page. But yeah, I think giving that access to the fans, which is not really, like a secret website. Like you could always look up the sitemap of any website. You can do that with any website in history and look up the sitemap, and it'll tell you every page is on the site unless they've actually locked that down for some reason. And so it's a very simple thing to do, but it definitely keeps Her Interactive on their toes, and they're a lot more careful, I've noticed, about what gets posted to the sitemap and what gets shared online, and the SEO and all that stuff is really being locked up a lot more. And And there's still one page that I have access to that I haven't really shared. And this page is kind of like their media library, but not really. It's a weird page where it doesn't show the images or anything. It gives you the URL, but it's all in a JSON format or .json, and it's a really fascinating thing. So, and that tells you like the latest image that's been uploaded after the website has been published, but not as soon as it's been uploaded by Her Interactive, if that makes sense. So if they took a photo of the game's cover art and uploaded it, I wouldn't be able to see it until they publish the page, if that makes sense, right? But I haven't shared that link yet. So I'll see how long it takes before I do that.
Keeping it to yourself.
Yeah,
You know.
I like to keep some things to myself, and I'm a little bit greedy and I'm a little bit mean in that sense. So I'm very sorry to anyone that sees this and is like, how do I get access to this? You will, but just not right now.
Eventually.
I'm so mean. I'm so sorry. I should have said that.
So, Carter, of the Nancy Drew Times, do you think the speed at which other fans you engage with's ability to solve each new clue for Mystery of the Seven Keys is beneficial to Her Interactive because it expedites their marketing plan leading up to the release of the game? And does it show Her Interactive that fans are engaged?
Ooh, yes, for sure. It definitely shows that fans are engaged. I think this is like what fans want, is to have that communication with the company that they love. And also, it's been really fun to team up together and solve these puzzles. So I think their marketing strategy for Game 34 has really shown them like, okay, so this, open communication and little vague puzzles like this and small leaks of the game is more fun than just giving it all at one time and being like, here it all is. You know what I mean? So I think that's great. I don't know about their. I definitely think that fans solve puzzles faster than they anticipated. Because I mean, in the Instagram chat and in the Discord, the marketing team eventually joined these chats, and they were like, I cannot believe you guys solved it again under an hour. Like it would be like 20, 30 minutes and the puzzle would be solved. But I mean, when you have hundreds of people, putting their heads together, I mean, you can really get some work done. And I think they have a very general plan. Like they know, like, okay, we can expect this by this month. We need to post about this by this month. I think they have a pretty good outline of that. Like, because especially when they first started, everything was very calculated, it felt like, their April 1st post, their April 3rd post, archiving all their posts and making it look like they had been hacked. I think that was all very well executed and planned. But I think maybe when they started doing like the puzzles, maybe at that point it was like, oh, they solved it in 20 minutes. Now we got to move to the next thing, and it may have been a little bit faster than they anticipated. So I'd say maybe a little bit.
Well, I do want to mention too that it was a really interesting move to remove archive all their Instagram posts. I think that was very fascinating, and people were instantly drawing parallels to Taylor Swift, especially, but a lot of other bands that have done this in the past, where they'll get rid of all their posts, and that will give them, as a company, the opportunity to just focus on the new stuff. Didn't quite work out with Pinterest and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, but with Instagram, that because they did that on Instagram, that was, in my eyes, them pointing towards this is going to be our main source, our biggest place that we're going to be hanging out and showing off new stuff. And that was the first place they updated their profile picture to the gold icon. They did that before any other social media page, and so yeah, seeing how they've taken those steps has been pretty cool.
Awesome. So, Kalina of Story Retold, as a former Her Interactive employee, are you surprised by how much the Nancy Drew games have been advertised by word of mouth? And if you were currently a Her Interactive employee during the promotion of Mystery of the Seven Keys, would you utilize fan promotion? And if so, how?
I am not surprised at all. What I am surprised at is how much Her Interactive has shared. Since Midnight in Salem, the company has been very private, very closed on what they share, and they've been curating exactly what they've been wanting to share. And there were a few missteps where fans learned a little bit more than needed than they anticipated. But the word of mouth marketing is something that we tried to encourage back when I worked at Her Interactive, because leading up to a game release, you start with this most subtlest of clues, the most minimal content to share, and then just snowball effect all the way up to the big milestones of hitting the marketing content, the title, the release date, the characters in the screenshots, the backstories, like what the mystery is actually about, where are we going, and then of course leading up to the big finale, which is the game trailer. So those steps are certainly, I'm seeing that here, except for the title. The title was a little bit pushed out, and I have speculation about why they hid that for a while. So yeah, we would utilize the fan-driven promotion. We'd create content that they could share, content that they could discuss, content they could take away from Her Interactive's website and go someplace else and do what they will with it. Speculate, create content, create memes, create silly things, just spoofing off of what it possibly could be. And it's one of the greatest strategies you could use, especially since it's free too. And it does drive in really cultivate the community and cultivate the attention that Her Interactive is getting back, so that when they are ready to sell you a product, people are already waiting in line to get it.
Yeah, very true. And also, I was, since you mentioned that, Kalina, it made me think of that first day where they archived all their posts and they posted that got shared so much, because it was like, it was such a vague thing. And it was like, what is going on? Everyone was like reposting and DMing people. And they're like, oh my gosh. I remember somewhere in the middle of all the marketing stuff, there was a guy that had DM me saying, I have been watching all of you guys' stuff, like Kalina, Hugh, Kate, like everyone I've been catching up on everything that's been going on. I haven't played the games in so long, but this has gotten me and my friend invested again. And it had been years since they had, played the games. So I think that, everything that they have done with this particular advertisement for Game 34 has done so many good things for them as a company. It's gotten more people invested in a while. I think even people that haven't played the games in a really long time.
Yeah, and the reach that this extends from, Her Interactive has their own following, but then people who are following Her Interactive have also a source of followers too, and that just really branches out. Like people who might be following Carter hasn't been following Her Interactive for a while, but they'll see his stuff, or they'll see WizardKitten stream on YouTube, or they'll see Hugh post some live or start some live streams and share some more content. And that reach just extends further past what Her Interactive's capabilities are. And I think that really adds to the value that they market.
Something else I recently learned, which is really cool, is that if fans were to do something to provide it's basically a free marketing research assignment for Her Interactive. And I learned this when I'm going to be careful about how I word this here, but I put out a fan survey on my website, just asking how fans were kind of thinking or feeling about Mystery of the Seven Keys and how the marketing's been and all that stuff. A very simple, like 5-question survey, and I presented the information on YouTube. And I had a Her Interactive employee reach out saying that they did look at that data, and I thought, oh, now that's interesting, because that's a survey they normally wouldn't put out at this stage. They I don't think they could say, what do you guys think of it so far, and is it working for you? Because I think that would be weird and out of character, and for someone else in the community to be able to do that and then give that information to them, that unlocks a whole bunch of new stuff for them that they wouldn't normally or wouldn't have gained access to as easily without doing it themselves, right? So it was a really interesting thing, and being able to to provide that kind of information for them, I think is quite useful.
And I encouraged some of the employees to keep track along the way of the stats, the numbers, the data that they are getting from their social media, from their website analytics. Start tracking that as best as they possibly can. I mean, just from our observation, their Instagram account grew at least 4,000 more followers just since they started doing this. So I told some of the marketing people, start tracking this, start watching the successes or the dips, and so that you can take this information, have it on file, learn from it, and go back to it so that you can see what worked, what didn't, what was a success, and what were learning points.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And I remember before I even had an idea for a podcast about this, I was just watching one of Caitlin's uh, analysis videos on a Wednesday in the morning. And I commented on her video and I was like, hey, they need to hire you as a consultant. Like, you're clearly aware of like what's best for the games. So hashtag hire creators as consultants, because I just feel like they couldn't do it without you. And I'm just hoping that they don't see this and think that this is not the best thing to say. I just feel like you really know what you're doing. And if they want to continue the series, I think just hiring creators as consultants would be a great step forward. You're already doing the work for them. As you mentioned, Hugh, they're looking at your survey data. It's like, hello, can I get a little bit of, compensation?
Well, I won't disagree, but at the same time, like, having a different perspective, especially from the fans' point of view, is, I think, super important, because then that, like Kalina said, that can really help gauge how things will look moving forward, and how much they feel they should release, and what kind of content they will release, whether it's a puzzle, whether it's a video, whatever. But obviously, content creators, like, we do focus a lot on these games to try and get the most valuable content that we can provide, but ultimately getting ideas and consultation, I think, from everybody. And that's why I think these fan surveys are super important, because that can give especially anonymity. And this is where I was really, and I don't know again who posted or entered into that fan survey. There's a small part of me that was really hoping that there would be anonymous or interactive employee submissions as well, just for them to get the chance to even voice their own opinion, because I wouldn't know who they were. I got no point or no way of knowing that. But at least they can get their voice heard.
And like with WizardKitten, creating content that makes you think about the games in a different perspective, sometimes from an even deeper perspective, looking at the different angles of this really adds to what can be pulled from these games. Like, we can keep going back to the games and playing them, great, but have you thought about it this way? Have you thought about, why is this in a Nancy Drew world? This would never work in the real world. Silly stuff like that. So I think it does add a level of appreciation to how rich the games are, because there's so much that you can pull out. And I'm looking forward to WizardKitten's analysis of the next game too.
Yes, just to say, because we're talking about it now, your Ransom of the Seven Ships video. Oh my gosh, like, I was watching it, I needed popcorn for it. I was like, that is such a good story. Like, it was so good. I love it.
You are all so kind. Thank you. I've been thinking about this as we've been talking, because a lot of my Nancy Drew analysis videos are more critical content. It's like lovingly critical. There's constructive criticism of the games. There's constructive criticism about like the way Midnight in Salem was rolled out to fans. And so sometimes I feel like the Lorax, like, I speak for the trees, I speak for the fans. Like, I'm going to like share my opinion, even if it maybe wouldn't sound the nicest to Her Interactive, not mean in any way, but just critical. And so I don't know how Her Interactive feels about me as a creator, as somebody who is constantly like, I love Ransom of the Seven Ships, but you know what could be better? This version. And like really going in depth on that. That's some of my favorite content to make. And I've learned it's some of the favorite content for my audience as well. Those are the videos that consistently get the most engagement because they're really fun. It's fun to think about the games in a different way.
I think it's so important to provide that other perspective too. I think that's so awesome, and it can be super beneficial to the company, whether they're the marketing team or the designers or the admin or whatever. They can at least have a really well thought out point of view as to how things could improve, and I think it's something that can be factored into their postmortem when they look at how did this game perform and how did the game production go and all this stuff. So I think providing that the fact that you can provide that is a huge asset.
And I hope that that's how they view it too, because one of the biggest videos on my channel is my honest review of Midnight in Salem. And the reason it's such a popular video on my channel, it's in the comment section, is just fellow detectives being like, I feel so validated that somebody feels exactly the same way about this as I do. So I hope that they do view it like that, is like, okay, this is a way to see this critical perspective and what maybe we might want to look into doing differently next time.
I wish I had thought of WizardKitten's analysis videos way back when we were working on Midnight in Salem, because we were looking for fan feedback about things that worked and what didn't work. And the only reference that we had was Arglefump, bless his heart, Michael Gray, who made the Everything Wrong With game series. And I'm not going to name names, there was someone on the team who was arguing with me about, how many problems The Secret of Shadow Ranch had. And I'm like going back and thinking about that video, and I'm like, so we agree here that Dave's butt is a problem in this game. I don't think that's a problem per se. Let's look at some actual analysis of actual errors or story continuity issues or like realistic situations or teaching opportunities that we should really look at. So I should have directed to WizardKitten instead, but Arglepump's videos are very entertaining and I love them dearly, but they have a special place. Yes, there are a few things called out in his videos that were actual hiccups, and I think I counted maybe 1, 2, or 3 out of 20, 30, hundreds of things that Arglepump could pick at. Data from fans is very important to hear. And there's many ways that you can read and learn from the fans, especially with the internet these days, which is great.
So as I was thinking about Caitlin's analysis videos and we were talking, I just hear in my head, A Labyrinth of Lies has a great place in my heart, but lava, poison, water.
Logic. No.
I do have a video on everything I would change about Labyrinth of Lies, and the very dangerous lava is one of the things that I had some qualms with. On a theater set?
Nothing can go wrong. Absolutely nothing.
You're like, I was a theater kid.
Me too. It's like, you know how hard theater sets are to put together? There wouldn't be lava.
The artist really wanted to have a second chance scene right there. That's what they really wanted.
That's fair.
It is a fun second chance. I mean.
So one more question for WizardKitten Caitlin. How do you think your Nancy Drew analysis videos and reviews makes fans appreciate the games more? We talked a little bit about that. I'd like to get your perspective.
Yeah. I kind of fell into the Nancy Drew analysis sphere after making a bunch of Nancy Drew walkthroughs. And then after finishing walkthroughs for all the games, my next logical step was like, oh, I should probably rank them. That would be a fun video. And realized very quickly that those kinds of videos, ranking videos and having opinions about the game and justifying those opinions, got a lot of engagement and were really exciting to fans. And I also realized those were the kinds of things that I really enjoyed writing about. So I started analyzing the games in every possible way I could. I've got the top 10 cooking puzzles in the games. I've got the top 10 best environments and the top 10 worst environments and all of the different ways to look at the different games. And if I'm going to analyze the games in that way, then I have to be able to justify my opinions for them as well. So naturally, there are some games that I love, like Warnings at Waverly Academy and Ghost Dogs of Moon Lake. And then there are some games that I don't love, like Ransom of the Seven Ships and Midnight in Salem. And so why do I have those opinions? Why does it seem like a lot of fellow detectives have those opinions? Because you can see when you interact with the community, top 5 games and bottom 5 games. There's often a lot of overlap there. So I just continued to kind of delve deep into that, interview the community. I have lots of videos where I did surveys with fellow detectives. And I think by looking at the games on that deeper level and thinking about the things that we love about them, the things that we appreciate about them, and why we love them so much, like why certain things just really hit. Like, what is it about the nostalgia of this environment that really just gets me? Or why is a mystery in a spooky old abandoned theater more successful than a mystery on a really joyful Caribbean beach? Like, what is the difference there? And I think that lends to more appreciation for the games that we all have as our favorites, and everyone has different favorites. And that's what I love about it too, is there's different things to love about every single game. It really makes you actually think more purposefully about what it is we love about them. And then that just, I think it kind of just solidifies it even more. It's like, yeah, that is why I love these games so much. That is why these games are my safe place, because they can do that for me. And I think, yeah, it's been a lot of fun delving into them so deep to kind of learn that information.
I really liked hearing your opinions as a fan of the Nancy Drew games for so long, and to get some kind of perspective from someone else who plays them, and get a little deeper sense of meaning to people. Because as I mentioned when we did our little pre-interview, that I just saw the games for what they were, but seeing your analysis of them was, just super important, and allowing me personally to appreciate the games more and appreciate certain games more, and learning about your favorite games and things like that.
And kind of building off what you just said there too, it's a lot of us didn't have people that we could play the Nancy Drew games with growing up, or we had like maybe one person. And so to have a community of people where you can talk about such specific niche things and everyone gets it and people have opinions, it's really exciting. And I think that just that sense of community also helps with appreciating the games in that way, because it's then we get to talk about them, our favorite things.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about final thoughts. Are we excited for the anticipated next title, A Mystery of the Seven Keys? And do we see a future for Her Interactive with a brand new trademark on the way as well?
We're talking about that second trademark that we saw filed.
Yes, I was excited to see that one.
What was the title of that?
The Case of the Missing Clue, Kalina's
Case-
favorite new Nancy Drew game.
Yeah.
That's
I'm hoping.
when they put like the little hold on, like the little like subtext on the cover where it's like set a course, you can't see it, for danger and discovery. It's just gonna say Kalina's favorite Nancy Drew game.
Yeah.
Endorsed by StoryRetold.
No, I don't care much for that trademark.
I
That
know.
title.
Yeah.
It sounds like a Nancy Drew notebooks book title. It sounds like a very generic thing, and I'm hoping that it is actually going to be put towards like maybe an extra DLC side story that you could buy that adds to the game. Maybe it's going to be like a YouTube miniseries that they're going to. Yeah, I have no idea what they're going to do with that next title trademark, but I'm hoping it's not a core mystery game title.
Aren't all clues kind of missing? So the Case of the Missing Clue.
It's meta. It's a mystery about a mystery.
Well, what's gonna
There you
happen
go.
is we're gonna finish this game and it's just gonna say end of part 1. We'll be left on a massive cliffhanger, and then the missing clue will be game 35, which will help solve 34 or something like that. I don't know.
I'm really hoping, and I don't think this is going to happen, but I'm really hoping at the end of game 34, Mystery of the Seven Keys, that they're actually going to tease something more concrete about the next
Fingers
game.
crossed.
That was the
Yeah.
tradition from games. Actually, it kind of started with the final scene, game number 5, when they teased out elements to the next game after that. And then with Midnight in Salem, it was very vague, not clear, not concrete. So I'm hoping to get back into that tradition, because we love having that reward at the end of a mystery to know that there's another one coming.
Agreed.
How long was it after they filed the trademark until they announced it? Was that a year and a half, 2 years?
I think it was about a year and a half,
So
maybe a little bit longer. Yeah.
So what if from the time that they announced it from May 26th, what if this could be a real big stretch? What if it's, let's say, a year and a half until the game comes out? And what if at that time they're actually comfortable to share a synopsis for the next game at the end of game 34? It might not be a year and a half, but I think because they filed the trademark around the time that, like, just before April 1st, to me that is a sign that they're starting. I'm just going off of what we know about 34, but that could be a sign that they're working on 35 right now, and that they could be taking a page from past games, and they are working on 2 games at once now. And I'm not saying we'll get 2 games a year. I don't think that's possible by a long shot, but I think we'll at least get game 35 within a reasonable amount of time after game 34. That's my guess. But
yes,
we'll wait and see, I guess.
I also think it's so interesting too that they actually, I think that wasn't that discovered, like, just, I mean, it was discovered a little bit later after they started posting, but the date was actually before they started.
That's what it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that that's so interesting because it's like, man, y'all have had this planned for such a long time, because like you filed a new trademark before you even started posting about all this Mystery 7 Key stuff. So it's very interesting.
What I'm hearing is that I think we all have a lot of hope. And I think that the community, content creators, we all have a lot of hope. We all want things to continue to go on this trajectory for Her Interactive. And I know, just interacting with fans too, that the sentiment is the same. Lots of cautiously optimistic right now. Gotten some good stuff, and now we'll see kind of what the game is like, and then kind of go from there. But there's hope. There's still a lot of hope.
I will say, just to piggyback off Caitlin, this is a very dedicated fan base for sure. I mean, we'll stick through and continue to support the games that they love. So, yeah,
because there's almost nothing else like these kinds of games, and that's what makes them so special.
Well, that's what I was gonna say too, is that seeing what we haven't seen much. We don't know anything about the game other than it's called Mystery of the 7 Keys. Takes place in Prague. There's 3 confirmed, technically 4 confirmed characters. But we don't know anything about the mystery. We've gotten little clues that it might be about the crown jewels or Bohemian crown jewels, but beyond that, and I'm sure Kalina knows more than we do and more than she's allowed to say. But I think that so far, it's still, like Caitlin said, it's great to be cautiously optimistic because anything could happen. We could get another game 33. Anything's possible. I don't want it to be possible, but it's possible. But I think that what they released with game 33 and the feedback they got, I think was exactly what they needed to get game 34 right. I think it was the perfect base, the perfect groundwork, and the perfect structure to get into where they're going with the series. And assuming this game does well, and I'm sure it will, because I think, and I don't know for sure, but I think sales wise, Midnight in Salem looked like it was doing pretty good, especially on Steam, where they, fans can purchase it there and they don't have to worry about expiring download links and all that stuff. I think this game just has all the potential and no reason, except for being a bad game, potential. I'm not saying that it will be a bad game, but if it is a bad game, I don't see there's any other reason why it would do poorly. Especially
with all the hype and marketing building up around it. Got a lot of attention on this game.
And that's what I've said. Even if the game's terrible, I'll have had an amazing time with the community, making content, live streaming, chatting, playing games, doing whatever. It's been brilliant. So if it all comes down to a terrible game, then I'm like, well, I think it was worth it.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate your time and being here and all of your amazing insights into the Nancy Drew PC games and word of mouth marketing. A little teaser for our viewers: if you look at the backgrounds, are some of our creators. That's what the Nancy Drew games look like. So I highly encourage you to take a look at their content and play the Nancy Drew games. If that's something that you're interested in, our creators will give you many, many, many reasons why. you should play them as well as I am a fan of them. If you'd like to look at our creators' content, see their channel, and keep up to date with what's going on with them, I'll leave their information and links below this video. Otherwise, again, thanks so much for joining us today, and I'd like to say a proper farewell to my creators. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye all.